103.1.
And hello, K-Man, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and welcome to Straight Talk, home for those who love to think. How are you today, Mr. Harris?
I am good today, Mr. Solomon. I trust you had a enjoyable, Tuesday, right? I
Yeah.
think so. Yes, Tuesday.
I had a very good day. It was productive.
Yeah, Tuesday.
I had a productive day.
You did?
So I noticed that we're in perfect contrast today. I'm wearing red and you're wearing blue.
Complete contrast. Not even a slight possible match anywhere to be found.
The discussion should be awesome today.
It should be fantastic today.
If I say boo, you say who.
That's right. That's right. Did you notice, I don't know how early you got up this morning, but there was a little bit of a cool breeze, say around 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning. And I thought maybe it might be a beautiful day, but it got hot real quick in a hurry.
Yeah.
But for a moment there, it was a blissful morning, you know, having a little coffee outside, getting ready to go to work. Yeah, it was a nice morning. Thank you, Lord, for a beautiful day.
It's funny you say that because when I drove to the construction site today, I'm like, I just felt blessed.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, some morning, and I guess it was one of my brothers who does his normal thing. He motivates everyone in the chat group and going like, go make an amazing day. I'm thinking, I appreciate that. I like the motivation, but for some reason, it's like it's already an awesome day.
Yeah.
And I just felt the need to, I just need to pray and thank God for this wonderful day. I don't have back pain. I don't have kidney problems. I don't have heart problems. I'm doing good.
Well, it must have been because I was praying for you this morning.
That's what it was?
That's what it was.
It could have been, you know.
I was enjoying a cool breeze. I decided to set up a little prayer. And, of course, whenever I pray, I include you in my prayers.
Yeah, I believe that because it was something just special this morning. Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll do that more often, shall we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Well, welcome, K-Man, to another episode here, Straight Talk, brought to you live on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook under the key search word Straight Talk Radio Show. You can also find us streaming live on the ACT Cruise Tourism page as well. No guests lined up for this Tuesday, but we do have an exciting show lined up for you tomorrow. We'll tell you about that as the evening progresses. But for now, the phone lines are open. 745-2626 is the number in studios. If you want to be an early bird and give us a call from the beginning and perhaps take us down a rabbit hole of your own choosing.
Start it off, shall we?
Now is your opportunity to do so. But as always, if talking isn't your thing, and certainly we try to encourage the thinkers in the audience. Again, if you're a little bashful about calling and telling the world who you are through your voice, then by all means write to us by dialing the WhatsApp number, 928-2562. And from there, you can share either a WhatsApp text message or get creative and share with us a WhatsApp audio note. Either way, all calls and comments coming to the program will be shared on air as much as we can anyway, make it possible. So it is Tuesday, and I got to ask you, did you get any rain last night, buddy?
Well, I'm thinking to myself, I said, oh, my God.
You know it's coming, right?
It's like these weathermen, the weathermen couldn't sleep last night.
They're not going to sleep tonight either, I tell you that.
Anyway, yeah, no, I'm afraid I didn't see any.
So yesterday, the forecast called for thunderstorms in the forecast. This represented the third time, I won't say in a row, but it was certainly the third time it was found itself in the forecast. And we were saying maybe, just maybe, the third time is the charm, and maybe the National Weather Service actually got a forecast bang on accurate.
And I think you were saying something, in fairness to you, that, Ellio, I don't even want to read this.
I didn't.
I don't want to read this because this already gone wrong 2 times.
Yes.
And
I was reluctant.
You were
I was
reluctant.
reluctant. But, you know, again, I maintain a positive attitude, optimistic, if you will, to the end, saying, all right, you know, we get it wrong sometimes. It's the tropics. We get it. You know, it can't possibly go wrong 3 times in a row, can it? Well, wait for it. So last night at about 8:30, there was this huge thunderclap followed
and you got
by
excited.
A flash of lightning. I did. I said, wow.
This is it.
This is it. The third time is the charm. The National Weather Service got it right.
All right.
Finally.
Yeah.
About 5 minutes later, there was a more muffled thunderclap, followed a few seconds later by a little flash of lightning.
Right.
A sprinkle. When I say a sprinkle, I mean, like, the kind of precipitation you get when you sneeze? Very light rain, that kind of light precipitation. A little spray. Not even that. Mist even came down from the heavens. And by 9 o'clock, the clouds had gone. The sky opened up into a beautiful, I think it was about a half moon. The stars were beautiful. My neighbor came outside about 9 o'clock. I said, Austin, what are you doing outside this time of night? I said, I am waiting on these thunder showers that our world-class government promised we would have for the third time in a row.
They promised me.
They promised me indeed. He looked up in the sky and says, it doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight, Bobo. And I said, you know what? I think you're right, Bobo. So again, for the third time in a row, thunder showers were promised. We got at least 2 claps of thunder. So theoretically, if you're playing roll the dice at the National Weather Service, which I swear to God, that's what they're doing. They're just flipping a coin and, saying, what's that game you play when you spin the bottle? Where's it going to land? Is it going to be thunder showers? Is it going to be partly cloudy? Or is it going to be, a clear, moonlit night? So anyway, no thunder showers last night, no rain last night anywhere. We were in Georgetown. If you got it somewhere else, you were on 7 Mile Beach, you were in Town. We know there was none in East End. But if you got some rain, please call in 745-2626.
Set us straight.
And say I was wrong, because I want to believe the National Weather Service, but I got to tell you, Ellio, my confidence is waning. And you're not going to believe it, but once again, for now a 4th time, thunder showers are expected in this evening's forecast.
Oh my.
I know. I think
the Bible says
to just stop.
I think the Bible says something to the effect of like nothing worse than a gray cloud with no rain.
How can these guys get it so wrong so often, all of the time? My buddy, my next door neighbor said, you kind of remind him of our good friend but he's not blessed memory. He's not dead yet. He's still around, but he's in the U.S. John Foster. John Foster said it was going to rain. Pack your swim trunks. If he said it's going to be hot, pack your umbrella. I said, those are true. But you'll never believe where John Foster used to get his weather from, too. The National Weather Service. So I'm starting to see a trend starting to develop. So I'm talking to you, National Weather Service. I don't know what they're paying you, but it's too much. Isolated showers are expected over the Cayman area tonight with an increased chance of isolated thunder during the evening hours. Let's see. Could they possibly get it wrong 4 times in a row? Probably. Winds will be out of the east at 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. That's a quick look at your weather, brought to you by the National Weather
I only
Service.
hope that my weather friends have a sense of humor, Austin.
Well, I hope so.
Those bored guys.
Because, I remember a time, and this is after you had gone on to politics, and I'd stuck around. I was still doing radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting a call, not from the National Weather Service, but from Hazard Management, because I had chosen, this is when AccuWeather first came out, and AccuWeather started presenting things like the real feel. The temperature's like 90 degrees, but it's going to feel closer like surface of the sun, 106 degrees. AccuWeather started that. So I started using AccuWeather because it was more accurate. And I actually got in trouble. I think there was a storm approaching on the horizon, so almost a hurricane. But because I did not use the National Weather Service to discuss an approaching storm, I got a rap on the knuckles by the government saying, you need to use official sources. But I say to the Hazard Management, the governor's office, we have been using official sources ever since then, certainly since the show went live on the 10th of February. Would it kill them to get it right? Just once. So I'm starting to think that maybe we leave the weather out until there's a tropical cyclone approaching. But then how wrong could it be?
I was just going to say, though, as you raised that point, and funny enough, by the way, when you said the 98 degrees and you were going to jump on the real field, I actually thought of the same number 106.
There you go.
Just by the way.
There you go.
So, but you're onto something, though. In fairness to you, if you get it wrong on the thunderstorm and the rain, it does put a little bit of doubt on hurricanes.
Sure it does. It does. I mean, you're not building confidence, and they've just redone their webpage.
Yeah.
You know, they've got it more graphically inclined, more pictures, brighter colors, supposedly to make, you know, it easier to read by the
Looks
quote,
great.
unquote layman weather watcher. It looks great, but what kind of confidence do you have that any of this nonsense is actually true? You know, so again, I'm just saying, because I have faithfully, ever since I had my knuckles racked by hazard management for not repeating word for word what comes from the National Weather Service, all of my weather reports since that time, and we're talking years now. You only have to tell me once. It's like getting called into the speaker's office.
I'm glad
you only got to tell me once for that to happen.
I'm glad you've shared the story with us in terms of somebody belting you over the fact that you didn't use the National Weather Service. That explains, I think, to a lot of us, Austin, why you have this animation,
Penchant.
this passion, this upsetment about this weather thing.
Because I sell the National Weather Service, and I sell with all of my passion and enthusiasm and belief. Because weather is boring. Let's face it. It's weather. It's either going to be cloudy or sunny. Mm-hmm. You know, how do you add excitement to that? Well, you try. You know, words and enthusiasm, and all you ask is that your forecast actually be right. I'm not saying 9 times out of 10. I'm not even saying 8 times out of 10. But good Lord, does it have to be 2 times out of 10, 1 time out of 10?
Well, you're definitely got 3 strikes now.
I'm 3 strikes, and we're going on 4. There are thunderstorms expected again tonight. Again, to the listening audience, if you see any, if you hear any, again, send us a message, 928-2562, because you can't call the studio after 6:30. But if you see rain, if you even smell rain, send us a message. We want to know. Tell me where you were when you saw it or smelled it, so again, we can report back and say
something happened.
In the bowels of Africa this evening, the National Weather Forecast held true. Not so much in the Cayman Islands, but if you were in Zimbabwe, it would have been thunder showers.
Well, you definitely make the weather interesting.
Well, I do try, buddy. I do try, and all I'm asking is the National Weather Service, work with me, baby.
Work with me.
I'm trying here, baby. I really, really am trying here. Anyway, 45 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock. And again, it's an open mic Tuesday. We got a bunch of good news, Ellio, to start us off. You know, it's good news for us. You know, we've been banging away at this government's proposal back in July by the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency to, you know, introduce this ban on all foreigners fishing in the Cayman Islands, requiring that they have to have a license, and only Caymanians can do it because it's part of some replenishment exercise.
Right.
And, you know, we asked the question, who did you talk to before you decided on this, you know, policy decision?
Right.
Who did you consult?
What great minds?
Did you even talk to somebody who might have actually, you know, been a fisherman? Because we thought it was nonsensical. We thought that if you are really concerned about foreigners, you know, doing something untoward, depleting the marine ecosystem, robbing future Caymanians of the opportunity for either conch or lobster or snapper or goggle eye, then clearly you must have been guided by somebody. But no, that's not the case. Never assume. And then, of course, we also went on to suggest that if there are foreign nationals supposedly overfishing, then there are other ways in which to address it.
Enforcement.
Exactly. Enforcement vis-a-vis the labor laws.
Which is what they initially promised.
Yes, quite right. Exactly. Quite right. Mm-hmm. Using their manifesto, taking them at the benefit of their word, the CINP government included in their manifesto, which is a part of the National Coalition for Caymanians, that they were going to enforce the laws.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we say it all the time. We got a bunch of great laws. We don't need more laws. We just need us to enforce the ones we got.
And to make sure that no one's missing us. That means the person that you think are out there fishing commercially, just enforce the permit issue.
That's it. Right. That's it. And you could sweep it up. You could solve this problem in a weekend if you go down like I did. I mean, we read the article. That evening I went down to West Bay because that's where the people who, you know, fish
that's a real fisherman now.
That's where they live. And again, I talked about having my visa stamp to get into the Republic, so I had freedom of movement in the Republic. Maybe that's the reason the government haven't gone down, because their visa is expired.
A couple of them are from West Bay, so I don't know how that happened.
From West Bay, yeah, but they probably might be restricted to just their neighborhoods.
Oh,
they can't walk freely in the community, But anyway, we were told by fishermen that, listen, there are a group of foreign nationals that do this, more so of the pelagic fish, i.e. in the deep water. Mm-hmm. We're not worried about the Filipino and the Honduran or whomever who might be fishing off the shore, because they're not robbing us of snappers and parrotfish that may be 2 and 3 and 4 inches long. Really, it's not a problem. The problem is, obviously, the big fish, the wahoo, the tuna, the dolphin, for example, that's being caught and then sold at under or below market value. But again, we know who these people are. We know who they are. You don't need to bring in Scotland Yard. We can wrap it up in a weekend. We can, frame it under the labor laws.
You're on fire today, Austin.
And we can deport them, and problem will be solved. Well, anyway, there was
Scotland,
So there was a group of Cayman fishermen, charter operators, fishing advocates. They came out to a roundtable on Radio Cayman's The Buzz earlier, I guess last week, the 31st of July. And the fishing community said that any law must strike a better balance between cultural tradition, livelihoods, tourism, and conservation. Franklin Thompson, I'll say Captain Franklin Thompson, president of the Cayman Islands Angling Club, said the club has long supported sustainable practices in marine protections, but believes broader restrictions targeting non-Caymanians could have unintended consequences. And this is where he went on to add it. From a club perspective, we promote visitors coming to the islands to compete in our tournaments. Mm-hmm. They stay at marinas, they rent boats, they buy fuel, and they contribute to the economy. These impacts have to be considered by restricting fishing for them, requiring licenses for them. They say, why do I even come to the Cayman Islands anymore? Jeremy Webster, owner of Aquatic Adventures, added that the local charter industry has rebounded in recent years, especially among younger Caymanians. This is our livelihood. He says, I understand the need to preserve marine life, but when do we stop and start again? A total ban can actually do more harm than good, he said. Now, the proposed ban, which is still in draft form, and all the government has done is talk about it, like they've only done a lot of things.
The world doesn't
just
start
talked about it
until 26.
Quite right. The world doesn't start until 26, but maybe it'll start in September, October, when they go back to the parliament to pass some laws or maybe bring some legislation. But the people, again, who earn a living from fishing said better public education and stricter penalties for violators, regardless of status. And this is the part that got me. They're looking for balance because they're saying and they're acknowledging, listen, rule breakers are rule breakers. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's some of us that break the rules. There's some of them that break the rules. Let's just make it about breaking the rules.
Right.
End of story. But banning it, bad idea. Unintended consequences. A little bit broader consultation is what they're saying. Had you come to us and asked us what we thought of this,
people in the industry,
we could have avoided a little of embarrassment on your side.
Politics of emotion.
And so the politics of emotion, the what we call look busy work,
the feel good,
giving people the impression that they're out there working for you, but they're not. Because again, this ban is likely to fall flat on his face before it has gone anywhere. So all it has been is talk, excitement, whole bunch of bravado for nothing. All right. And again, I hate to say we told you so, but we told you so. So just saying.
My colleagues on fire today.
52 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. One more bit of good news that might actually tickle you. So the Cayman Islands has been nominated in 3 categories for the 2025 Travi Awards, which recognize excellence in cruise tourism, culinary offerings, and romantic travel experiences. Really. But wait, there's more.
Read it again.
The prestigious award program has open voting to the public to determine winners across multiple travel industry categories. The Cayman Islands received nominations for, drumroll, Best Cruise Destination in the Caribbean, best culinary destination in the Caribbean, and best honeymoon destination in the Caribbean. Now, I find that, first of all, on the one hand, that's great news. That says that the industry, the people who buy our tourism products, this is how they see us. This is how they feel about the services we offer.
Right.
Even if the government and arguably 79, 80% of the population don't get it.
Yeah.
You understand? But that's okay. You don't have to
says we're
understand
coming out of the business.
You don't have to understand it, but just accept that it works.
Right.
All right? But I found this rather curious that we're being awarded for the best cruise destination in the Caribbean whilst we watch our cruise tourism numbers
Dwindle
down to almost nothing.
Plummet would probably be.
Plummet would be the word.
That would be a better word.
We see the government arguably boycotting any of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association meetings, including the one that was just held in June in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
Again, I think, okay, so you don't want to build a cruise port. I get it. But we're still in cruise tourism, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, Minister of Tourism, you might want to go. You might want to know what's going on. You might want to know what our competitors are doing.
Staff.
Or some of your staff, just somebody. Because to not go, to ignore it altogether, it simply says, well, we're just getting out of it. But I see whether it be Michael Miles, Minister Miles, excuse me, the Honorable Minister Miles, and some of these proposals on the labor front, or whether it be, again, the ignoring of the cruise industry, just shows to me more and more, and again, I'm trying to find a silver lining for the government, and one or two areas, there's at least one area today that I'm going to, sing their praise, so it's not all bad news.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. But it just shows to me that the new incoming government, despite their aristocracy, for a better word, I mean, a lot of them are business owners, professionals. Some of them are very wealthy. You would think by now they would understand how our economy works and what are the cogs and the wheels that actually turn the economy for a lot of people. But ignoring cruise because we had a referendum that said no cruise berthing, fine. No docks is one thing. But is that going to suggest we need to do away with cruise tourism altogether? Absolutely not. If it does, then again, you're going to pay for it down the line. And I hate to say I told you so, but we've been telling you so. And then to see our customers, people who travel to this island and how they view the Cayman Islands.
How great they think about it.
They think this is wonderful. They think the Cayman Islands is the best cruise destination in the Caribbean, even though our own leadership and arguably 80% of our people don't. I think it's just the irony of the good news, and I just had to share that because, well, it is ironic.
Well, Mr. Harris, I have to definitely say something. What did you eat today? Something got you fired up today, my friend.
Clearly, I had some duck and macaroni and cheese from Hurley's today.
Oh, is that what it is?
It was. I don't know if it was Peking duck or what, but I was hungry today. Normally, I don't, I try not to eat too much during the day. I'm a light breakfast guy, have dinner, and then call it a night. But today, I don't know. I missed breakfast. I was starving. I needed food.
Just repeat it tomorrow.
So maybe got a little energy in me.
Maybe you started with that prayer thing because you're just inspired today.
I'm thinking that's how it all began.
I think that's it.
I really am. So
great.
A little bit of reality, a little dose of reality mixed in with our good news, I think is important. And as my colleague always says, it's not all tongue-in-cheek. And I say it with a bit of tongue-in-cheek. Because it's better to laugh than cry. But really, we have to ask ourselves whether it's the fishing ban or whether it be some of these, again, I don't know, lofty, wishful thinking labor practices that really show a disconnect between how our economy works, what makes it work so well, and basically some of the actions that are done without any thought for consequences really has to give you a moment of pause to say, and this is a better government than the one we just got rid of?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little dubious.
Well, I think, you and I both know, I mean, the challenges that the politicians have because the tendency is immediately to start dancing to the crowd, and to want to satisfy them, placate them. And again, this is where I say it's like a bit of a Pontius Pilate kind of thing. I hand it over to the mob. And I call it this feel-good legislation, this politics of emotion, because that's what I'm actually seeing there in substance, is that you're trying to do something and be seen to be doing something. And, flogging the foreigners always tend to work.
Sure.
Certain things. But, it doesn't make sense. But I'm glad to hear that the angling group.
Yes. Angling Club, yes.
All right. Well, it's good to hear
somebody's these are folks that brought you $1 Million Month. You remember that. That was, again, introduced at a time, much like Pirates Week, when tourism was in a lull. So we bring people here. We bring people to our shores.
Yeah.
And these days, now they show up in their mega yachts and their mega ship, sport fishers.
Well, even when we did the show before, we've seen all those groups, and it was a sword fishing, whatever.
Yeah, you got to appreciate, what they do and how that is of value to the Cayman Islands. But to miss that altogether and introduce a ban without thinking, a no-brainer. Keep it locked. We'll be right back here on Bobo FM.
Bobo.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here. More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
A vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority. At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands. Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. The former US President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary are among a group of high-profile figures subpoenaed in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Pressure has been building on President Trump from his own supporters to release more information about the convicted sex trafficker who died in prison in 2019. Here's our North America correspondent, Nomia Iqbal.
The fact that these subpoenas have been issued, and this was by the House Oversight Chair James Comer, and it comes after 3 Republicans joined with Democrats in a vote, subcommittee vote, to release the files, shows you just how high this issue is riding. Now, what happens next is, in theory, yes, they have to comply with these subpoenas. Otherwise, there'd been contempt of Congress. But at the same time, they can seek legal avenues to try and not do that. And they could argue, well, we've got nothing to do with this.
The United Nations has called reports of a possible imminent expansion of Israel's military operations in Gaza deeply alarming, if true. The Assistant Secretary-General Miroslav Yencha told a meeting of the UN Security Council such a move would severely destabilise the situation and put the remaining hostages in even greater danger.
This would risk catastrophic consequences for millions of Palestinians and could further endanger the lives of the remaining hostages in Gaza. International law is clear in this regard. Gaza is and must remain an integral part of a future Palestinian state, as declared by the International Court of Justice.
The meeting was called at Israel's request after videos emerged showing 2 of the hostages severely emaciated. The first post-communist president of Romania, Ion Iliescu, has died at the age of 95. Originally a communist himself, Mr. Iliescu played a key role in steering the country through its democratic transition after the 1989 revolution overthrew the communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. This report from Nick Thorpe.
More than 1,000 people died during the revolution in Romania in December 1989. As head of the National Salvation Front, Ion Iliescu played a central role in consolidating the new power and ensuring a stable transition to democracy. But he also ensured that many communists kept their influence and were able to turn this into wealth in post-revolutionary Romania. He was president twice, from 1990 to 96 and from 2000 to 2004.
A BBC undercover investigation has exposed the workings of a powerful and violent people smuggling gang operating in France and Britain to transport people across the Channel in small boats. The 16-month operation identified 3 Iraqi Kurdish men. BBC News. Cameroon's Constitutional Council has dismissed an appeal by the opposition leader Maurice Kamto and confirmed that he will not be allowed to stand as a presidential candidate in October's elections. Mr. Kamto was seen as a potential strong challenger to the 92-year-old incumbent President Paul Biya, who's been in power for 4 decades. President Zelensky says he's had productive talks with Donald Trump aimed at ending the war in Ukraine, days before a deadline on Moscow to announce a ceasefire. Mr. Zelensky said they spoke about sanctions against Moscow and a US-Ukraine drone agreement. He said Russia had intensified its attacks and was prolonging the war. The messaging service WhatsApp says it has shut down almost 7 million accounts linked to scammers in the first half of the year. Most were in Southeast Asia. WhatsApp's External Affairs Director, Claire Deavy, said a team identified and disabled scammer accounts before the criminals could use them. Ms. Deavy also warned against users being added to chat groups by anyone they don't know.
In many cases, scammers may try and add people to groups. So we are launching a group safety feature, which if you're added to a group by someone who's not in your contact list and you don't recognise the group, we're going to give you a card that sits over the group and gives you information like when the group was created, if you have any contacts in common, and some safety features. Now, this means that you'll be able to verify and think about, is this a group I want to join? And if it's not, you can block and report straight away.
The French mobile operator Orange has announced plans to adapt artificial intelligence models to work in hundreds of African languages. Orange, which provides telecom services in 18 African countries, says it will fine-tune Microsoft-backed OpenAI models with collected samples of regional dialects. Work has already begun training in the West African languages of Wolof and Fula. BBC News.
Views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook under the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. You can also find us streaming live from the ACT Cruise Tourism page. Again, just try to make it easier to come where you are, so that you can, of course, be a part of our discussions. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock in studios with your host, Ellio Solomon, and myself, Austin Harris. The phone lines, they are open. 745-2626 is the number in studio. You can't say I didn't give you an opportunity to call in and perhaps, direct the conversation in your way. But in the meantime, we certainly have no shortage of discussion topics that we can use. And as my colleague and I were saying during the break, some of this stuff you just can't make up.
You can't. You can't. The more I think about it, it's like I'm sitting and saying, let's see if I can get married to this chick.
Yep.
22 years before I can become a citizen. I mean,
Insane.
Who dreamed that?
Your kids will be more Caymanian than she will be. Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Your kids are in college before you become a Caymanian. You know, I was sitting and thinking, how did they come up with that? I said there probably was 11 of them in the room, and they said, hey, they said we need to have the cojones to do this. That's 2 times 11 is 22. I have no idea how you came up with that number. Because you see, Austin, I just want you to know, 21 years wouldn't have been right. 19 years, 20 years, not even those would have sufficed. It has to be 22. I mean, like, what I don't understand, you know, this is the problem I have with the media too, right? Like, how do you have Minister Miles in the studio and not ask this question?
How?
How do you do that? You see that?
Radio, come on.
And that's why you're never going to come on here, right? Because, you know, you're not going to get those kind of softballs. But how do you have a minister in the studio and no one says to this guy, I'm just curious, 22. How did you get that number?
Where did you come up with it?
Where? Yeah.
How did you arrive?
How did you arrive? You know, ¿cómo se llega a ese número?
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Break it down for me.
You know,
all right?
break it down for me because I can't figure it out. No one asked that question.
Can you imagine that mother, presumably, now, you're a Caymanian man, married to a foreign woman, brought her here, lovely, I'm married, you know, it's a wonderful thing, I want to have kids. Now, imagine that mother trying to enforce discipline in her home, trying to ground her now 5-year-old, 6-year-old.
Shut up, you're not even a Caymanian.
Don't make me call immigration on you. You're out of here.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
But again, it is the ridiculousness of the proposal. Anyway,
I don't know how they arrived at the number.
I don't know.
Inquiring minds want to know. Does anyone know how they arrived at the number?
I don't know. But again, like when we look at this whole fishing ban, again, the guys that showed up on Radio Commands, The Buzz, said, listen, had they called us, had they even sent us a text, you know,
we could have saved you.
We could have saved you a whole lot of heartbreak and trouble.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to come out and say something embarrassing.
We wouldn't have to say anything bad about you because, you know, you and I were already being accused of massaging the government.
Oh, we were so sweet.
Being so sweet and kind.
Honeymoon for like 4 months.
Honeymoon with the government. They said, come on, where's the old Austin and Ellio?
Mm-hmm.
Your wish is our command.
Well, we're here. You just got to say something stupid, and apparently that's what they did.
That's all you got to do.
And then the other thing is, you know, and then I read on Facebook, and, you know, some people are praising the minister. That's always good. I'm glad somebody's throwing a hand, you know, but, you know, it's, what's that one? You can't transfer. You know, you can't transfer.
Straight face, can you?
Yeah, no, you can't transfer within the first 2 years. And he specifically is talking about jobs like janitors, etc.
Yep.
And then they're praising, and I'm saying, how? Somebody explain to me. And the phone is open, so please call. Explain to me how this benefits Caymanians.
Please.
Why are you excited about this? I don't get it. You know, I'm so happy that the Jamaicans will not be able to move from janitor to house. How does this help you? I don't get it.
Yeah. You want to do the jobs?
Yeah.
Because clearly you haven't been doing the jobs all these years, hence the reason why they introduced the temporary work permits in the first place in many of these categories. But absolutely, have we thought about what the end result is going to look like? Have we thought about what it's going to feel like? Have we thought about, again, this is a government that are struggling with their, you know, accounting right now. They're facing a deficit of $60 million at the end of this year. Every bit of revenue is going to really matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hear people say, you know, it's not the revenue side of the column we need to worry about, it's the expenditure. Well, when you're in deficit, baby, you really need to start caring about how much money you're making.
And this is where the hypocrisy comes in again, you know, because there's a minimum wage thing, and it made it sound like we just got to do so much for these people. They're suffering here. Can you imagine if we have exploitation of workers now? Can you imagine what exploitation is going to take place when you put that in place? So just picture for a moment, Austin, you and I.
Yes.
You know, we got our nannies.
Yes.
You know, she's just saying, hey, you know, I just want to go to another job. I've been working here for a year and 10 months.
Yes.
And I'd like to become a janitor instead.
Right.
Can you imagine the stress? Can you imagine what conditions arguably these people would be willing to endure so that they don't have a problem?
Yes. It's frightening.
I mean,
all the minimum wage in the world not gonna help them.
We're all bright people here, right? I don't think I have to get too crude. Can you imagine what these people will be arguably willing and probably subjected to enduring?
Yes.
So that you don't have an issue?
For real. That's real talk.
Yeah.
Again, it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes to think about it. But believe you me, it is entirely possible.
I think it's terrible. I think that, again, I really don't see much sense in the minimum wage. You're saying that issue, but for sure, when you're going to rob people of an opportunity to be able to, and again, let's just be clear, there are persons and employers, I even know of these situations occurring directly. I've had discussions with people about this, where persons will bring individuals here on a temporary permit and they're just selling them out.
Yep.
You know, they got them out there working, doing whatever they want to do. They got to pay them a certain, but that doesn't get covered with this. Again, it's an enforcement issue. CINP had it right in their manifesto.
Yes.
It's enforcement.
Indeed.
Right? I don't see, and this is where I just really need the help. Somebody text, somebody call and tell me, what is it that I'm missing?
Yes.
How is this benefiting Caymanians?
Correct.
And how are you saying that I've got to look out for these poor people that are in our country and they're suffering and I need to give them a minimum wage to save them? But at the same time, you put a roadblock like can't go anywhere for 2 years. Talk about locking you in prison. Right?
Yeah.
You are opening those people up to completely be subjected to abuse.
Correct. And if you say you're doing this to protect Caymanian jobs, to your point, how many Caymanians are lining up around the block to do janitorial work? How many Caymanians have been doing, domestic helpers? These are positions that Caymanians have traditionally avoided for a variety of reasons. Even tourism, for goodness sakes. They ask you why Caymanians are no longer participating in the hospitality industry when we recognize that historically
minimum wage at the hotels.
It was Caymanians that started Cayman's tourism product to begin with back in the 70s, but something changed, and now Caymanians are no longer interested in that. How are these new proposals intended to benefit us? How are they intended to protect Caymanian job opportunities? In jobs that Caymanians don't want? I don't get it. As my colleague said, maybe we're missing something. We hope we're missing something. Maybe the government sees something that we don't see.
Yeah.
And we encourage them. That's why we say, come to the show. Let's have a conversation. It won't be roses and rainbows. You won't be massaged, but we will have a serious conversation. And let's talk. Because, again, we want to give you the benefit of the doubt. But it's becoming really, really, really difficult to do so. So that is that. And we, again, struggle and try to keep it upbeat. We got another good news item, which I think is great news, particularly on in the level of the direction in which we're talking about. Again, we're facing deficit. So, yes, expenditures are a concern. It would have been nice if we were worried about spending 4 years ago, then we wouldn't be in deficit today. But hey, all right, fair enough. That cart has already left. That horse has already left the gates. But in a deficit, you need to be thinking, okay, how can we make money? So Spirit Airlines, in today's Cayman Compass, says it will be the latest airline to add a new U.S. Cayman Islands route with a thrice, love that word, with a thrice weekly nonstop flight between Fort Lauderdale and Grand Cayman starting at Christmas or in December on December 4th. The flights on the low-cost airline between Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood International Airport, and Grand Cayman's Owen Roberts International Airport will operate on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The flights are our latest number of new nonstop U.S. routes being added by various airlines, including the national flag carrier Cayman Airways, Delta, United, American, JetBlue, and Southwest Airlines, which will be available as of this fall in time for the height of the island's tourist season. The airline noted, this is the really good news, that passengers traveling from any of the more than 30 destinations that Spirit currently serves will be able to visit Grand Cayman via these one-stop connections in Fort Lauderdale, where Spirit is the largest carrier. So when we ask ourselves, how are we making more money? What pathways are we creating for the country so that, again, if we don't want cruise tourism, what are we prepared to do for stayover? And again, this is encouraging news because just like Spirit, 30 different destinations, arguably destinations that maybe may never have thought about traveling to the Cayman Islands because of the cost factor, now they're going to have an opportunity to do so, and they're going to have the opportunity to do so with the lowest priced airline in the market. But they are being, I guess, added to by some of the other big carriers, Delta, United, American, JetBlue, and Southwest. So all of these things represent good news for Cayman's stayover tourism market. It said that it is scheduled to operate more than 100 departures to more than 70 destinations by the end of 2025. The airline will be offering an introductory U.S. $66 one-way fare from Fort Lauderdale to Grand Cayman. So if you're in the U.S., you want to come to Cayman, you can do it for under $100. If you're in Grand Cayman and you want to fly from Grand Cayman to Fort Lauderdale, again, this is the part that's, the truth is funnier than fiction. They say everything is more expensive in Cayman, and that includes airfare. It'll cost you almost $200 U.S., $165 one way from Grand Cayman to Fort Lauderdale. But I know locals are going to jump all over this. You buy a one-way ticket, under $200 to get to Fort Lauderdale, and you fly the same carrier back for under $100. Bargain. There can be a lot of weekend getaways. The fares are subject to a 21-day advance purchase. Valid booking will be from the 5th to the 11th of August for travel between the 4th of December 2025 and the 11th of February 2026, with, of course, blackout dates from December 11th to January 20th, because it's the Christmas holidays. You have to accept that this is peak travel times. Nobody's going to sell you discount fares at that time. But every other time is going to be very affordable. So this is great news.
Well, this is the time we need it.
This is absolutely what we need, particularly against the backdrop of recently released statistics put out by the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism, also in today's Compass. Again, I think they selected their news stories. They timed them very well because clearly greater uplift is needed in order to sustain Cayman's tourism market right now in the face of a $60 million deficit. Air arrivals, according to the Department of Tourism, dipped for the first 6 months of 2025. According to the statistics, 37,848 visitor arrivals arrived in June, bringing the total for the halfway point to 2025 to 338,000. Although there were 41,000 air arrivals in June 2024, the total through the first half of last year was 250,000. This dip represents almost a 9% decline in June of 2025 as compared to June 2024. June 2025 marked the second month in a row when air arrivals were below those of the corresponding month last year. This year's total for June was also lower than that of June 2023. So again, cruise is in battle. Cruise is struggling. Stayover, not doing much better, but there is a silver lining in the clouds. We got new airlines, new carriers coming from multiple destinations, certainly starting as early as December. So high season and into next year starting to look up. So there is a silver lining. Now, on the cruise side, and again, we've been banging this drum, but nobody believes your local prophets when they say it. Look, I'm calling myself a prophet.
Yeah.
But we'll call somebody else here.
Quite appropriate.
Quite appropriate, I think so. So when somebody else tells you, maybe it'll ring more true than when we tell you. The situation with cruise passenger arrivals is more pronounced. A total of 44,000, 44, not a 4,400, 44 and 440,000, no, 44,000 cruise passengers arrived in June this year, 20.3% fewer than in 2024. June's numbers were the lowest since the year 2000. In 25 years, this June's figure was the lowest in 25 years. And, it hasn't been, we haven't had any hurricanes. This is discounting COVID, no pandemic. All of these things, this is still the worst year for cruise. Based on cruise ship arrival schedule posted by the Port Authority of the Cayman Islands, again, we've been talking about this, July, August, and September of this year will likely continue the trend of lower year-on-year monthly arrivals before the numbers go up ever so slightly in the last 3 months of 2025. And again, that is typical because it is high season. But yeah, this is the realities. So cruise still continues to struggle. Arguably, the government seems to have taken their eye off of the ball on cruise altogether.
But let me tell you what that going up is like. That going up is like going over, what do you call it? A sleeping policeman on your way down the hill.
Yeah.
You're going up a little bit, but the numbers I understand, I think between 26, 27 is supposed to be somewhere, get down as low as 700 and something thousand.
Wow.
And again, we're going from 1.9 million, right, on the high part.
Yeah.
Those, I'm sure everybody knows I'm supposedly the cruise ship man or the cruise man because of the campaigning, but it is not looking good. And I'm seeing a similar situation right now happening with these stayovers. You know, I was saying early in January when I was still the chairperson of the Turtle Center, there's absolutely no way, in my humble opinion, you could have all the press that was going out in terms of what was happening with our beaches and it not get out there. And at some point in time, just that in itself have a significant impact on our cruise, on our stayover visitors.
Yeah.
You know, it might be a little bit of a latency, a little delay, but it's going to happen. Cayman is very beach-centric in terms of vacation.
Yeah.
And again, another reason why we should be diversifying it. But it is not looking good, and I want to say this government is going to be facing some significant challenges, and I'll say it, my prophet friend there,
yes,
that you're not only going to be having a deficit position, you're going to see increased problems because cruise is going to go down, and that guaranteed 40 to 50 million that comes to the government will be significantly reduced. And you're going to have to exacerbate the situation, and you are going to have somewhere of those 5,000 persons out there that are making a living, they will start knocking on your door. And that's how it happens, right? When it rains, it pours. So you ever notice that all the bills come in when you don't have money?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, you won't have much money, and then the bills are really going to start coming in because people will be knocking at your door saying, I don't have a job. And this is why I'm saying to the government, and I want to encourage them to not take the Pontius Pilate position and say the people have spoken, the mob, and just go in that. You have to take leadership. You have to say, I have to do the right thing. And the right thing is to make Cayman Islands keep on the proper cruise path, but apparently that's not happening. And if people also think that you're going to have a $1 billion industry to use that number, and those people are all sitting in the rooms and chatting about, oh, well, we won't be going to Cayman, we won't be going to Cayman, and somehow this is not going to have a ripple effect, you're making a sad mistake.
No, absolutely. You make a very valid point because, you know, on the one hand, we have to consider the dwindling numbers. And again, from the cruise numbers, we've seen a dip from the $500 million a year wider contribution that cruise was making to the economy post-COVID down to about $200 million. So we've lost $300 million, arguably in a blink of an eye. But as 2025 continues to press on, we're going to see those numbers drop even lower. So what does that mean? That means that, to his point, persons who earn a living from cruise are going to find it harder and harder to put food on the table. Now, we've been talking, well, certainly, you know, there is a difference between frugal or disciplined financial management of the public purse. And if I can just use, you know, the administration that I was proudly a part of. From 2017 to 2021, we had surplus in every single year. But at the time, of course, we still had Caymanians saying, well, you're in surplus. Spend it on me, spend it on here, spend it on there. But we didn't. And by saving, obviously, we had the pandemic, which nobody planned for. But thank God we had surpluses. So now when the industry, the country, not just cruise, but stay over as well, were in dire straits, the government was able to pay people's wages, to put money
in a positive position
so that they could keep the lights on, so they could keep food on the table and stay healthy.
Won't be the case now.
You can't do that now. We're going to be in deficit 2025 and 2026. And again, I just take it back because, so my administration, despite, and again, I'm proud of the work we did. My conscience is clear. The voters didn't think so much. They replaced us. 2021 to 2025, we had the government, the three governments that we remember, and what was the end result? They spent those surpluses, again, listening to the mob.
Right.
But what did it get us? It got us deficit situation, 25, 26. Your government, your new government now, can't bring it into place. It can't introduce many of its lofty ambitions because they just don't have the money for it. And then you have the perfect storm coming together in crews, further dwindling. Persons are going to be hurt. Persons are going to be out of pocket. Persons are going to be unemployed. And there is no relief possible from the government. And, of course, the government are going to be hard-pressed. They're going to be faced by challenges. So what are they going to do? They're going to borrow. And borrowing is only going to make their financial situation even worse. So there is cause and effect. If you are not good stewards with the public purse as you are elected to do, and you are disciplined with that approach, doing anything different is going to end you in the situation where we are today. So it is, yes, about expenditure, but it's just as much about revenue as well. And unfortunately, on both sides of the coin, things aren't looking good. We have to pause, take a short commercial break, but keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk coming up next.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
When you're on the go, the experienced team at Foster's Pharmacy are here to help. Drop off your prescription while you shop or WhatsApp us and we'll prepare it, ready for your arrival.
Whether you need prescription or over-the-counter medications, blood glucose testing, or advice on vitamins and supplements, we're here early in the morning to late at night. Both of our locations at our Camana Bay and airport stores are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday.
For more info, visit fosters.ky/pharmacy. Foster's Pharmacy. Better health because we care.
It's trivia every Wednesday from 7 o'clock at Sandbar on the Georgetown waterfront. Your chance to win some fantastic prizes in our free-to-enter Trivia Madness. Great offers on beer buckets, margaritas, and a delicious menu served throughout the evening. Grab your pals and get along to Sandbar every Wednesday from 7 o'clock for the most fun you can have with your clothes on. Are we ready?
Yes, Marty!
Then let's do this. Trivia, Sandbar, 7 o'clock, Wednesday. See you there.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Drinking water is vital to our health. At Cayman Water, we use reverse osmosis desalination to ensure safe drinking water. A semi-permeable membrane allows fresh water to pass through, blocking out contaminants. Then, we finish with a post-treatment process and conduct frequent extensive testing to ensure that you get healthy drinking water with an average pH of 7. Not only is water out of your tap safe to drink, it's approximately 400 times less expensive than bottled water. Help to reduce plastics and save our planet. Cayman Water cares. Learn more at caymanwater.com.
At Priced Right, spending less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on office supplies, tools, and automotive products.
Spend less on groceries, fresh produce, and meat.
Spend less on electronics, TVs, and speakers.
Spend less on home furnishings, beauty products, and apparel.
At Priced Right, we believe you can live better for less.
To start saving, visit us at the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republic's Plaza in West Bay.
For more info, visit pricedright.ky. Live better for less at Priced Right.
Insurance matters. It gives you the confidence to live life as you should, knowing you're protected. As a leading local insurer for over 25 years, Island Heritage has a consistent track record of providing best-in-class customer service with quick and efficient claims processing. This means insurance you can rely on when you need it most. The Island Heritage Way. Visit us online at islandheritageinsurance.com today to learn more about our home, contents, motor, marine, and commercial insurance products. Go on and live your life. With Island Heritage, you can.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1. Powered by Health Services Authority. Committed to caring for you. Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live on YouTube and Facebook at the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. We can also find us streaming live courtesy of the ACT Cruise Tourism page there on Facebook. The phone lines, they are open. 745-2626 is the number in studios. Again, you know, we're having, as the name on the door says, Straight Talk, we're having an honest and frank dialogue on the issues that pertain. You know, if someone can say that we're wrong, if someone can point us in a direction that says our outlook, our forecast, our prognosis for the future is flawed, then again, please tell us. Because whilst we like to say I hate being right all of the time, really, in some cases, and in this is one of those cases, we wish we were wrong. But we have been banging this drum for almost a year. But certainly in our case, you know, not even that much, about 4 or 5 months since we've been on the air. We've been warning that these are the consequences. And so far, nothing has changed in terms of the data, but quite to the contrary. The data has only bared out our worst fears, and arguably they're going to get worse. But if we're wrong, if we're missing something, if the government sees something, knows something that we don't know, we would love to hear it, because in this situation, we want to be wrong. Because the reality is simply this: we have to live here too, you know, and we like crime-free streets. But when they say a hungry man is a hangry man.
A hungry man is
a angry man. Exactly.
Yep.
Not call us and we'll sing that song for us, but yes, you know, and we're going to feel it in a variety of areas. But more importantly, our own people are going to feel it in their homes. Our own children are going to feel it in their homes. And that's a pain I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So if we're wrong, tell us we're wrong. 745-2626 is the number. Ellio, maybe it's a good time to maybe divert a little bit away from the bad news, but the realities that obtain, and maybe offer up something lighter. Why don't you tell our listening audience what we have planned for them tomorrow?
Well, you know, I want to say, first of all, there's an old adage, you know, that if you can't see the light, you feel the heat. And I think that, unfortunately, that's the situation. I really have concerns for the country. I think in many regards, many of us have kind of lost the compass, in my opinion, not the newspaper, moral compass and other things. Because as I've seen the votes, for example, is coming in the referendum, all of that, people can say whatever they want to say. I'm sure they can make their childish stabs. But it's a totally different Cayman now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. Totally different. And all I'm seeing here now is that even with respect to some of the legislation and how people are responding to those things, it's like, I really have to question and be quite honest and as respectful as I can. Are you really thinking about what you're saying? Because it seems to be working on some people. And that's where I asked them. The telephone number to call is 745-2626. And my colleague, in terms of the text, 928-2562. I genuinely want you to give me a shout and tell us how some of these pieces of legislation that you believe are working and is going to do good for Caymanians, please, because the minister refused to come on, so please pick up the phone and call and or text and tell us how you think it's going to work, beneficial for Caymanians. I do want to say this in a very general way as well. Without mentioning the organization, I was able to learn, let's put it generally, this week, that our good friend that came in the studio as well, Mr. Heyman Rankin, is employed.
Yes.
What is important to understand about his employment, we're very happy about that. Let's have no doubt about it. Happy about it. But interesting, that person was and now again regains his employment in relation to a nonprofit organization, which is at least 50% funded by the government. And I want to stress that because we've seen at least two persons that failed in terms of the campaign who were members of TCCP get employment with the government specifically for the premier, and we're happy for them. We've seen now at least Haman Rankin, who also worked with CINP, again, who is part of the coalition with the government, now working for something that clearly the government has an influence with. But we don't see that so far in terms of anyone who has run against the now coalition. What is it? National Coalition for Caymanians.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, as I say, blind Helen Keller, Bartimeus, whatever, can see precisely what we've been saying here in the studio. And that is, it has been tradition in Cayman. It doesn't make it right. Tradition in Cayman to victimize people who have run in an election against you. What has changed in the world is the fact that we're supposed to now have an SPLC, the Standards in Public Life Committee, who's supposed to be looking at things like this. Why are you hiring this one? Why you're not hiring this one, etc. And if somebody is victimizing individuals, draw the conclusion. It should be obvious that clearly there's no one equally looking out. Because I made it clear. You had persons, and again, no one has asked me to do this. You had persons, and by the way, my colleague and I do these things because we've been there.
Yes.
We've been there, we understand, and that only adds some further gravitas to the fact of why we can say it here on the radio.
He who feels it knows it.
He who feels it knows it. So you have the people like, and again, just make it so obvious, persons like Sterling Dween who also work for the government. Why can't he get his job back? Persons like Donovan Bush who also worked for the government. Why hasn't she gotten her job back? But we see everybody else getting their job. Come on, Cayman. It's victimization. We're supposed to be our brother's keeper, right? And regardless of what side you're on, at the minimum, the government should be putting these persons who have shown that they are willing and able to make a contribution, they should be putting them on boards. So I say shame on the government because you haven't gotten a response. I asked the premier to even make a statement encouraging the private sector individuals to hire these persons as well. No statement, but of course, he doesn't have to listen to me. I guess that's the way he might deem it. Bottom line of it is shame at the end of the day that we can't be our brother's keeper, whether it comes to Cruz or whether it comes to the persons who ran opposition in the government. Again, the same exists. We had a caller to the program, Mr. Harris, you remember. And she said the problem in Cayman, I think she was a Jamaican national, if I get it right.
She was.
She said the problem in Cayman, if I may paraphrase, is that we are not our brother's keeper.
No.
We live in a 5-bedroom house and our brother's on the street and we don't have the decency. We don't have the brotherhood to say, come, I got an extra room here. This is the Cayman Islands. And I want everybody to know, you can have as much fun as you want, but if you really think that that country, that company is going to last with that mentality, you make a sick, sad mistake. If you think that we can't get in the same position as other countries, you make a sick, sad mistake. All right? And by the way, hopefully tomorrow I'm going to be submitting for an FOI to this SPLC, which is going to be asking for all of the documentation in relation to this situation as it existed with the premier at the time, the Honorable Wayne Panton, and with Miss Sabrina, what's her name? Turner. Because that transaction wasn't right, and I really want to see, and inquiring minds want to know, the public should want to know, I definitely consider I'm doing it on their behalf, what exactly transpired. And you can't possibly tell me that the courts can be sentencing somebody who's lending $400 or $1,000 because it's a crime, you don't have a license, but yet we can have people lending $1.6 million. And again, the situation is not right because you can't possibly tell me, all of you who are listening on your radio right now or on your television, on your phone, wherever you're listening, you can't possibly tell me that it's right that anyone can come, I don't know, Dart, this one, that one, anyone can come and lend $1.6 million to one of your politicians. It's just a loan. Don't make a big deal about it. Come on. You can't possibly tell me that, my colleague would say, passes the sniff test.
Clearly
you can't
not.
tell me that smells right.
It doesn't smell right at all.
You can't tell me.
I would need it, but I'm just saying.
You can't tell me
turn your belly.
that sounds right. You're going to tell me that I just loaned Austin $1.6 million, but hey, you don't have to listen to me. He can do his own thing.
He can do his own thing.
I mean, the fact that he owes me $1.6 million doesn't touch him, doesn't bother him.
Not at all.
No.
No influence on him at all.
So if I said, Austin, I'd like to work the knobs, the fact that I loaned him $1.6 million will absolutely not influence him and say, hey, you come work the knobs. Great idea.
Exactly.
No, come on, ladies.
You shouldn't even have to ask.
We are brighter boys and girls than that. That is not the situation. But going on to some of these announcements, again, I want to remind the public as well that we're going to be continuing our our candidates forum. And I would say, as my colleague always highlights, and wave the flag because it's necessary. We are the first ones to do it.
Yes.
First ones to be able to take the time out, not just to talk about candidates who are victorious and who the taxpayers will pay, but also those fallen soldiers who didn't make it, who took a sacrifice on our behalf.
That's right.
And we want to be able to interview them, continue those interviews so we can learn a little bit more about them, the challenges that they had during the election, what were the lessons learned, and what was the lessons learned afterwards, and where is it that they're going from here. Those are some of the general broad questions, and I can say to you that we have the pleasure to have in the studio one of our fan favorites, if you like.
He was. Huge fan favorite.
Mr. Jordan Rivers is going to be coming in tomorrow into the studio at 5 o'clock. Hopefully you'll join us for that. And we do have someone lined up for the following week.
We do.
On Wednesday as well. But we'll announce that after we've covered this one. We're not going to let anyone steal his moment.
No, not at all.
So tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we want to encourage you to tune in so we can hear from Mr. Jordan Rivers.
Absolutely. I just want to add one thing to, our challenge. My colleague has really, been out front with this one, but he's done so with my full support. He's been out front by challenging the government and arguably holding the Minister of Labor or Minister of Canadian Employment, whatever they call it nowadays, to the merit of his word. He got up and said in the public domain that he will ensure that Caymanians get the jobs they want. Not the jobs they need, but the jobs that they want. And my colleague said, well, let's focus on some of those who lost the last election, those persons who ran against some of your members. And let's not put too much pressure on the government. Let's focus on their immediate sphere of influence, jobs in the government. So we're not saying to the government, go out to the private sector and demand the private sector give some of these other persons jobs back, maybe by threatening, no work permits, heaven forbid, or other things. No, leave them alone. But within the government, let's challenge the temerity of your words, the genuineness of your words by expressing an olive branch, extending an olive branch to some of those you've lost. But I will also challenge the private sector to give up this ghost, to give up this convenient excuse of this PEP risk, this politically exposed person. And that is the reason why you won't hire a former political candidate, for fear that should there be a breakdown in the employer-employee relationship, they will somehow use their political influence to negatively damage the business that they are otherwise being hired into. That is an insult to persons who put themselves forward as leaders of this country. It is an insult to suggest someone of that level of integrity would somehow stoop so low. I think these persons would quit before they would, compromise their own character and integrity to, quote unquote, go down in the engine room and destroy the engine or poke holes in the boat. It is ridiculous. So I'm going to say to the private sector, give up this ghost. Give up this convenient excuse that says, because you ran an office, we can't touch you with a 10-foot pole. It is nonsense. These are the people, frankly, you want in your businesses. These are the people who have demonstrated integrity. These are the persons who have demonstrated honesty. These are the persons who have demonstrated national patriotism. These are persons who have demonstrated a willingness to be transparent in their actions. You know how hard it is to make a jump from private to public life, where every aspect of your life is now open for debate, open for discussion. These are persons who say, go ahead, look at my closet. I don't got no skeletons in there. I got clothes. But go ahead and look inside.
Put stuff there.
You know what I mean? So to somehow suggest and use this excuse that we won't hire former politicians or persons who were involved in the political landscape because of fear of how they might use their political influence against the companies, it is ridiculous. Please give up that ghost as well.
And again, I will say that I think that a big part of it, I've mentioned this before, but a big part of it, as far as I am concerned, is a simple fact that the companies out there know the environment that we're dealing with. They know the politicians that has been existing in this country for decades and the victimization that takes place. And many of them are legitimately concerned that, hey, if I friend with so and I hire this one or I hire that one, I mightn't get my work permits. And this is where I call on the government as well, in this particular case, the premier, to show that this government is different.
Yes.
To make an announcement and say, listen, no, there's going to be no victimization from the NCFC. Hire the persons who ran in the campaign. Even that's that word you can't mention, those words you can't mention. I talked about this during the ACT campaign with respect to Cruz, and I'm going to continue to say it now. We are supposed to be our brother's keeper. The persons who are listening to me right now, do you think it's impossible for you to be unemployed tomorrow? How would you look at it differently then when you know that tomorrow you're not really sure how you're going to pay your bills, the electrical bill, the water bill, the loans, the car loan, the mortgage?
Yeah.
Would you not want someone to look out for you? Wouldn't you want someone to help you to get a job?
Right.
How difficult is it for us to be empathetic to our brothers? This is our country, and we need to be able to look out for someone. We're not saying to go pick up somebody off the street that has absolutely zero skills and put them as a manager of a bank. That's not what we're saying. We're talking about individuals that have proven their aptitude, their skills, their willingness and ability to do jobs.
Yes.
And understand it. In large part, they're not getting a job strictly because of the victimization. So at the minimum, I'm going to say it again. You who are listening, at the minimum you can do is you send a text and say, I'm against that, and something different should happen. We need to make our voices heard. And for the government who thinks that they might own one media company or whatever and be able to, bang again first thing in the morning, bang and try to compete with us in the evening, if they think somehow a voice is going to go away, I don't think so. We'll be sitting right here at the watering hole for the next 4 years, because lies and BS is like a Ferrari. Flies around, gets around pretty quickly. But truth is like a Mack truck full of load. It travels very slowly, but when he arrives and parks, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
All right?
He's in the room.
He's in the room. So deal with the truth. The Mack truck is here.
That's right. All 18 wheels, baby.
All the wheels are right here on this one.
That's right. 50 minutes, 10 minutes past the hour of...
10 minutes to 6.
10 minutes to 6.
Right, time flies.
Thank you. Thank you for that. 10 minutes to, not 10 minutes past. 10 minutes to 6, giving us about 9 minutes before we have to pause and go off to the top of the hour news. We were talking, of course, earlier on about the Cayman Islands being nominated for a number of tourism awards, not least of which Best Cruise Destination in the Caribbean, Best Culinary Destination in the Caribbean, and Best Honeymoon Destination in the Caribbean. If you'd like to see Cayman win any or all 3 of these categories, you can cast your vote today by going online to the Travi Awards website. That's at www.travivyawards.com/vote, and then cast a vote for the Cayman Islands so that we can, again, add these prestigious awards to our own ongoing resume. And speaking of tourism awards, the 2025 Stingray Tourism Awards are now open. And the deadline for submission is Friday, the 22nd of August of this year. This year's event will be held at the Grand Cayman Marriott Resort on Friday, the 19th of September. The evening will begin with a cocktail reception at 6 p.m., followed by a dinner and awards ceremony at 7 p.m. Tickets for the Stingray Tourism Awards are now available for purchase. Those interested in sponsoring this prestigious event may also contact their office. We encourage you to like and share related social media posts. You can visit their website. I'm trying to see, where is their website? The Tourism Awards. Let's see if that takes me there. Let's see. What is it? I think it's the Cayman Islands Tourism Association. Yeah, the Cayman Islands Tourism Association.com website is where you can go to, and there's a link that you can click to the Stingray Tourism Awards. And, of course, you can purchase your tickets all online, add to your cart, and be there to attend. But, of course, the Stingray Tourism Awards is an annual event hosted by the Cayman Islands Tourism Association that celebrates excellence within our own Caymanian tourism and hospitality industry. The event honors individuals, organizations, and businesses that have significantly contributed to enhancing the island's tourism sector, whether through exceptional service, innovation, or commitment to sustainable tourism practices. So it's an opportunity to, again, really applaud our own for the great work that they are doing. And, of course, enjoy a great meal and some fantastic fellowship in the process. So, again, the Stingray Tourism Awards are now open for submission, and they will be open until the 22nd of August. The event will be held at the Grand Cayman Marriott Resort on September 19th. So you might want to add that.
I think for a little bit of a recap, it'd be good to chat for those persons who were not able to listen in yesterday. We had a wonderful discussion with the Cayman Finance. So it was a great discussion we had in the studio, Miss Daniela Hennings and Miss Samantha Widmer. So some of the things that I definitely walked away that I think is noteworthy of how great we're actually doing in financial services, specifically as it relates to funds. I think the number she gave was somewhere in the region of 30,700 funds are being operated through the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
And talked about that amounts, I think, to $130-something million in revenues coming into the government via the SEMA, I guess,
Yes.
from those funds.
Yes.
Of course, there's other residual benefits as well. And then from the employment perspective, I think she mentioned it was like approximately 5,000 jobs or 6,000, I think. And 2/3 of that were Caymanians.
Mm-hmm.
So all very, very well. And it was a very good discussion.
Yes.
And if you didn't get a chance to see, we encourage you to check out our website, which is www.straighttalk.ky. That's www.straighttalk.ky. And it should be the second video from your left.
There you go.
To get yesterday's video.
Awesome. Well, again, our archive is available at our website, and you can certainly log on at your convenience. Yeah, yesterday was a fantastic discussion again.
Wonderful.
We want to thank our guest, two, if I might add again, lovely Caymanian ladies. Whilst some look at their names and go, those aren't Caymanians' names. Well, they are actually. But they're also two married ladies, so obviously they're no longer carrying their maiden names.
Actually, interesting, Daniela Hennings, which of course Hennings is Caymanian.
Is Caymanian.
But she also mentioned she was a Borden.
That's where it was headed. Yes, indeed. And that's as Caymanian as you get.
A Borden pizza, boy. We used to love a Borden pizza.
Oh, my God. Some of the best pizza on the planet. Borden, for those of you who are brand new to the Cayman Islands, Borden's Pizza was, I guess, arguably the first proper Pizza Hut to come to Cayman.
First pizza place,
Pizza place. It was located in Morgan's Harbor in West Bay. It was some of the best pizza on the planet. Shortly after, of course, more, I guess, household names started coming to the island. But even then, and all of their flashy marketing, you still couldn't beat Borden's. And for a while, Borden's Pizza actually made a comeback. I think they were established in the Governor Square for a while. But again, unfortunately, they didn't have the staying power. And I guess, time had...
The foreign entities had moved in.
Yeah, they had moved in, and they're here to stay. They just didn't have the staying power. But again, when I think about Borden's Pizza, it's all very nostalgic because as a boy, and that's a long time ago for us.
Great man.
But as a boy, it takes me back to a simpler time in Cayman when we were little bitty, as the song goes.
Yeah, and again, I just want to make the announcement for those persons on the summer wondering what you can do with the kids. I mentioned this before, but I'll keep mentioning it. 1 week in August 11th to 15th from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., boys and girls can engage in soccer. It's ages 4 to 16. It will be taking place at Marie Martin's Primary School. Lunches will be provided, and, of course, to get T-shirts on the last day of the camp. And the telephone number to contact if you're interested is 323-1993. That's 323-1993. I encourage you to go check it out and give your kids something healthy to do rather than sit inside of the house and, play games, get outside, run up and down, stay healthy.
Absolutely. And whilst we are on the healthy alternatives, I, too, also want to remind the listening audience, and again, this is a plug for the government, in particular the Ministry of Planning, Lands, Agriculture, Housing, and Infrastructure, or PLAHI is the acronym, has introduced a pilot initiative delivered in partnership with the Department of Agriculture providing participants with their Backyard Garden Program initiative, which is a new community-driven effort at increasing household food security and sustainable gardening in the Cayman Islands. If you log on to either the Department of Agriculture or the Ministry of Planning, applications are open and will remain open until August 30th. Those who participate in the program will receive free grow boxes, free soil, free seeds, and basic guidance to start their own backyard garden. The program targets a wide range of Caymanians, from retirees and families to urban residents and eco-conscious youth. Certainly in this wide world of, again, shortages, growing what you eat is just as important today as it was the day that saying was first lofted up in the public domain. And we certainly want to praise the Ministry of Planning for this initiative and encourage persons to be a part of it. To apply, you can log on to gov.ky or again visit the Ministry of Planning, or you can contact the Department of Agriculture at agdepartment@gov.ky. 59 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock is the time in studios. We do have to pause, take a short commercial break, check in with the top of the hour news brought to you by the BBC, so we can learn a little bit about some of the latest news that is happening around the pond. But keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk coming up next.
Bobo.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News.
BBC News.
World news from the BBC. Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive winds.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat.
Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here. More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. The former US President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary are among a group of high-profile figures subpoenaed in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Epstein was charged with sex trafficking of minors and other crimes in 2019 and found dead in his jail cell while awaiting trial. Nomia Iqbal reports.
President Trump and the Republicans have faced an uproar from their base ever since the Department of Justice concluded last month that Jeffrey Epstein had no so-called client list and died by suicide. Many don't believe that. They think there is more to the case, a conspiracy theory that was once fueled by Donald Trump himself. The subpoenas cast a wide net across Justice Department leadership during the Obama, Trump and Biden administrations. They also include former FBI Director James Comey and the former Attorney General Merrick Garland. It's unclear if any of them will actually appear before the committee or do so publicly.
The United Nations has raised concerns of a possible imminent expansion of Israel's military operations in Gaza. The meeting was called at Israel's request after videos emerged showing 2 of the hostages severely emaciated. Israel has been trying to switch the focus back to the hostages as international anger mounts over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The UN's Assistant Secretary-General Miroslav Jencha has criticised expansion plans.
The latest reports regarding Prime Minister Netanyahu's possible decision to expand Israel's military operations through the entire Gaza Strip, if true, are deeply alarming. This would risk catastrophic consequences for millions of Palestinians and could further endanger the lives of the remaining hostages in Gaza.
A BBC undercover investigation has exposed the workings of a powerful and violent people smuggling gang operating in France and Britain to transport people across the Channel in small boats. A reporter posing as a migrant gained unprecedented access to the gang's hideout in France, as Andrew Harding reports.
It was in April last year that we first encountered one particular smuggling gang. They were battling French police on a beach near Calais. 5 people died in the chaos that followed, including a 7-year-old girl. Since then, we've been tracking this gang across Europe. In France, we've now learned more about the gang's operations as they've changed names and phone numbers. They're one of only a handful of gangs that control the actual small boat crossings themselves, carving up the coastal launch sites between them. From our contacts, we hear reports of the gang's violence on land and confirmation that it's linked to at least 7 more deaths at sea, so 12 in all.
BBC News. President Zelensky has warned that Russia will only make serious moves towards peace in Ukraine when it begins to run out of money to fund its military operations. The comment made in his nightly address came as he welcomed the threat of tougher US sanctions on Moscow and tariffs on nations who buy Russian oil following further talks with President Trump on Tuesday. Mr. Zelensky described their conversation as productive. The Lebanese government has tasked the army to draw up a plan to disarm the Hezbollah militia by the end of the year. Hezbollah, backed by Iran, has rejected calls that it disarm. The Lebanese Prime Minister called on the army to produce a plan under which only state security forces would be armed. Hezbollah has been dominant in southern Lebanon, but observers say its influence has declined since last year, when it was severely weakened in a conflict with Israel. The messaging service WhatsApp says it has shut down almost 7 million accounts linked to scammers in the first half of the year. Most were in Southeast Asia. The end-to-end encrypted platform said a team identified and disabled scammer accounts before the criminals could use them. Claire Deavy is from WhatsApp.
What we see is these scammers are getting increasingly more sophisticated. They are reaching out across many platforms. And what we want to do is, first of all, share how industry is working together and we can disrupt this. And second, what WhatsApp is doing inside our product to help protect people.
WhatsApp also warned users against being added to chat groups by anyone they don't know. Tributes are being paid to the Portuguese footballer Jorge Costa, who has died at the age of 53 after suffering a cardiac arrest. As captain of the Portuguese club Porto, he and his teammates were the surprise winners of the UEFA Champions League in 2004, under the manager José Mourinho. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook at the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. Or you can also find us broadcasting live on the ACT Cruise Tourism page there on Facebook. Or, as my colleague mentioned, you can also find us at our own website, www.straighttalk.ky. And from there, again, obviously, you can access our archives if you missed any one of our shows, not least of which yesterday's fantastic discussion with Cayman Finance and our two absolutely lovely and very knowledgeable guests, Miss Danielle Hennings and Samantha Whitmer. Well, again, you can just check out the website and listen to it all over again so you don't miss a single episode of Straight Talk. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock as we move into our final segment of the evening. The phone lines remain open at 745-2626 in the studios. If you have a comment, a statement, or whatever, tickles your fancy, you want to share it with us, a thought, random thought, then by all means, pick up the phone and give us a call. If talking isn't your thing, maybe you're worried about who might hear you, well, then you could always write us at our WhatsApp line, 928-2562. And from there, you can share either a traditional WhatsApp text message or share a WhatsApp audio note. We did say that we were going to bring the conversation back in the government's direction and end on a bit of a high note, praising the government. And I want to do so now with your permission, Ellio, looking at another story that was taken from the headlines, particularly from the pages of the Cayman Compass, on a hugely important issue, and I have to commend the cabinet for at least putting this on their agenda. The title says, government is pushing forward with plans for a new subsea telecoms cable. Just read a few short lines. Plans for a new subsea cable are moving forward amid growing concern about the long-term viability of Cayman's current telecoms infrastructure. The island's connectivity to the wider world, everything from Netflix and WhatsApp to credit card machines and Microsoft Team calls, depends on two fiber optic cables linking Cayman to Jamaica, to the U.S., and largely the world. Cayman's main telecoms lifeline, the Maya 1 subsea cable, described as the lifeboat of the economy, is reaching its end of its useful life, according to a government consultant report, which has made the case for a new investment. That report, produced by Grant Thornton, suggests Cayman should fund at least one additional cable as a national security priority. Now, the National Coalition for Caymanian Government has approved plans for the drafting of new legislation to advance the project, according to notes from a cabinet meeting held last month. In a statement, government indicated it was advised to seek approval from Parliament for the necessary legislative powers to move the project forward. It describes this underpinning legislation as an essential step before formally engaging with the market to find the most effective outcome. That Grant Thornton report, which was published last year, warned that Cayman does not currently have sufficient guarantees over the longevity of the existing infrastructure. Both systems are aging, and the Cayman Islands government has no certainty or control with regards to the future of either of the existing cables. The report spells out that two cables is the bare minimum to provide the backup necessary to avoid regular data blackouts. If Cayman goes down on one cable, its entire economy could be at risk. According to the online magazine Data Center Dynamics, a 10-day cable outage could cost the Cayman Islands economy between 150 and 200 million sterling, or British pounds, if you will. So that's even more, like 250, 300,000 US. So, well, first of all, I applaud the government because it is absolutely necessary. It is absolutely necessary that we start thinking about this. I want to, I guess, pay a little homage to someone who's no longer there anymore, but it was a pilot project and certainly a priority of the former interim director of OFREG, but the director of their ICT division, Mr. Ali Famois, many moons ago, I dare say 2017 to 2021, he was banging the drum, making the case that investment is needed for the development of a new subsea cable. Now, Ellio, we were taking a look at some of the cost and doing some of the math. So if we were to lose connectivity with the wider world, we think of all the things that were highlighted there, but our banking institutions, our telephones, you name it, anything that is connected to the internet, which is almost everything these days, will go down. And if that goes down for a protracted period of time, you can clearly see the threat to the Cayman Islands economy. However,
tremendous financial impact.
Tremendous. So it is, I think, a good point that the Grant Thornton report stated. It is and has quickly become a national security issue. Should we lose that, it will present challenges for the Cayman Islands. But I think the wider question is, should the government, or even can the government, fund such a expensive endeavor themselves? Or is it more likely what the government might be thinking about, should be thinking about, is introducing legislation that can underpin and create the environment in which we can take this opportunity to the market? Because when we look at the subsea cables that exist today, they aren't owned by any one telecom giant, but instead they represent a consortium of multiple companies coming together. I think we were looking at the cost. It costs about between $30,000 and $50,000 per kilometer to build a subsea underwater cable. And when we look at the Maya 1 cable, you're talking about 4,400 kilometers of cable. And again, to put that in perspective, the subsea cable, what does it say? It connects, where is it? There it is. It connects the Cayman Islands to
Jamaica.
Mexico, Honduras, Jamaica, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and the United States. So it's
I kind of
hugely important to us. And the Maya 1 itself was built, or laid, shall we say, in 2000. So it's 25 years, approaching 26 years old. It's been sitting at the bottom of the ocean. I don't know how deep it is, but it's certainly deep enough that getting it down there and getting the right vessels down there is just another part of what makes this such an expensive endeavor, and arguably prohibitive from the standpoint of the Cayman Islands government under good times, but certainly even more so when the government is plagued with deficits in 2025 and 2026. Some thoughts?
Well, to your point, I definitely want to take my hat off to Ellio as well, because I don't remember exactly when it was, but I'm pretty sure it was around the 2017, 2018 time frame. He was there. I know that this was already something he was trying to be working on, and I believe it was a case that this would be going out to RFP so that you could, get some private investors. I don't remember the specifics, so I think I'll pause there, but I don't necessarily think it's something that government itself has to, nor should it try to get into it. Those numbers that you gave me, assuming those are correct in terms of 4,400 feet for Maya 1, you can see that that's probably going to range potentially at 30 to 50. That gives you 120-something million. Easy. That's a lot of significant amount of money.
It's a lot of money.
And again, I could be off with the numbers if somebody knows the exact numbers or more specific, but that's what we got online in terms of the cost is somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000 per linear foot.
Yeah.
Sorry, not linear foot.
Per kilometer.
Per kilometer.
And Maya 1 cable is 4,400 kilometers long.
Mm-hmm.
But we were also talking, there are two cables. We think of Maya 1, that's the one that comes to mind. There's another one whose name escapes us at the moment.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. And I think because how I remembered it was that Maya 1 was actually going from here to Jamaica and on to Colombia and on to United States. So, it might do another hop somewhere else, but that's how I remember it. And there was another one, I think it was something like CGFS or, some...
CJFS.
CJFS.
Jamaica Fiber System, and then the Maya 1 cable.
Okay, good. I was too far off.
You weren't far off at all.
Okay, there you go.
And let's take a look here. The CJFS system, this cable connects Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac to Jamaica, and this became operational even further back in 1997. And this one is owned by the former Cable and Wireless Networks.
Okay.
At the time. CJFS.
Okay.
Cayman Jamaica Fiber System. And then, of course, we have the Maya 1 cable itself. But certainly I think it is commendable for the government to have this on their radar. I think it's commendable that they are.
But what I don't understand, and I don't want to knock you from the government, because we get back to that, we can end on that note, but what is it that, if this has been on the radar since 2017, 2018, I mean, how many years is that now? 7, 8 years?
A little while.
I just don't understand why they say the wheels of government turn slowly. I just don't understand why that hasn't been done yet.
Well, it actually, and just for the record, it was first, well, I know it was being discussed between 2017 and 2021, but I think the government, and I'm just taking a look at an article, I'm trying to see where it fits. Again, on that same website, Data Center Dynamics, an article that was published June 4th, 2024, saying the government first mooted plans for a new cable back in 2022 and looks to be more moving forward with the proposal. Let's see. The two data cables both date back to the dot-com boom days. The Liberty-owned CGFS from 1997, and the consortium, which owns Maya 1, from 2000. The Cayman Islands government is hoping to deploy a new cable to increase resiliency, but this said, blah, blah. The Maya 1 cable was cut several times in 2020, and CGFS suffered issues last year. He had a 10-day cable outage. Yeah. He added that the 10-day cable outage could cost between 150 and 200 million sterling. So without a doubt, the system is aging. Without a doubt, we need to start thinking about what we're going to do to find its replacement. We definitely need a redundancy, given the fact that, yesterday we were talking about the SWOT analysis for financial services, the opportunities, some of the emerging markets of looking as far away as Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Japan. We talked about the rise of AI and how that technology is going to help financial services going forward, arguably everybody. The common denominator in all of those things is an internet connection. And without it, we pretty much are up the proverbial...
Kudos to Grant Thornton for even trying to put a number on that. I mean, that's just amazing.
Indeed.
Which, of course, carries you on. I mean, think about how many times, Austin, we've had these outages where you can't use your ATM card or your debit card, however you want to refer to it, because some system is down somewhere.
Yeah.
But either way, just imagine from mom and pop shops to banking institutions, everybody, like you said, is online. That's a huge number. Major ramifications.
This is where, I just say now, this is where the 2017 came around. This is what I remember.
Okay.
Around 2017, the new deep blue cable was due to connect the Cayman Islands, whilst the BN Americas had previously reported on an Aurora cable project that would have followed the same route as Maya 1, but both those projects have not been updated since 2022. Again, I think that speaks, again, to the costly nature of this particular infrastructure project, the fact that what it's going to cost, the technical nature. So once you have the money is one thing, then you got to find the vessels, then you got to find the men and women that are actually going to operate it. It's, surface vessels, submersible vessels, because we're talking about significantly deep water, deeper than man can go. So you're talking about, automated or surface operated submersibles doing the work. So it's not for the weak of heart, but this is highly, highly technical work, but without a doubt.
Austin, you just go. You grab the cable and you throw it in the water.
That's all you do.
It's a large part.
You put it together on the boat and then you throw it overboard and let gravity take over.
Don't go and then you stop hearing the noise so you know it's reached. And you just keep moving in your direction. You move from here to Jamaica, you just drop the cable.
That's right. Well, again, we just want to congratulate the government for thinking about it, for having this on their radar.
Willingness to move forward.
It is absolutely necessary. Again, we think it's very important that we're thinking ahead the next curve. But arguably, it is not, like a lot of things, it's not a new idea. It's been hanging around for a while, but that doesn't diminish the importance or the significance of it, going to Parliament. Whoever, wherever it dropped the ball, I don't think it was personal. I think what it came down to was affordability. And the government back in 2017, I know our government accepted the reality that we couldn't afford it. And arguably, I don't see how this government's going to afford it if we're going to fund it ourselves.
Yeah, I think it was going to go to the private sector. And I'm pretty sure it was between 2017, 2018, because at the time, if my memory serves me correct, I was doing a little bit of a spate of a radio show with Woody.
Yes.
Woody DeCosta. So I'm pretty sure it was around that time frame, and it was supposed to be, to the best of my knowledge, something that would have been sent out to the private sector looking for persons who would be willing to make that sort of an investment. Of course, investment as in you get your return as well.
Of course.
But yeah, I don't think the government has those kind of numbers laying around anywhere.
Indeed.
And definitely won't be having it based on the deficit position that you've espoused.
No, not at all. We see just another story with 23 minutes past the hour at 6 o'clock that I guess we can cover. When we talk about, development and the development going on all over the place, but it's some of the more forward-facing developments that have fallen on disrepair, particularly in the face, obviously, of our cruise tourism business. The Central Planning Authority says it has not made a decision about a proposal to develop the well-known but badly damaged Paradise Bar and Grill in Georgetown waterfront after the National Conservation Council directed that the project be declined in its current form. The board asked the developers to make their case at a future meeting. Now, I'm not quite sure what the National Conservation Council's issues are, but I'm sure they have them. And honestly, you have to apologize. Forgive me.
Give me the development again.
The Paradise Bar and Grill there on the waterfront. You remember that was damaged, I think, by several storms.
Right.
Particularly, I think a few.
COVID did the most damage, I think.
COVID absolutely did the most damage economically for it. Blah, 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 blah. Paradise, described by developers as an iconic restaurant, is a victim of rising sea levels, repeated storm damage, including last year's powerful nor'westers, and the Department of Environment says it is extremely vulnerable to climate change. DOE experts say the proposed $1.5 million revamp by Harborview Investments is adjacent to a marine project area located on the leeward side of the island and is not within a reef-protected lagoon. So again, they're worried about, obviously, the immediate vicinity, which is popular to snorkelers and diving. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, the restaurant sits on Iron Shore. I'm sure you can build a cordon area around the landside developments and still redevelop it and not harm the marine ecosystem. I mean, again, I'm just seeing this article for the first time, so you'll forgive me if I haven't read into it and gotten more details. But at some point in time, you got to ask the National Conservation Council to come on, get over it. Really. I don't know.
Don't get me started on all these environmentalists because, I sound like the worst guy on the planet, I'm sure, to some people. But I have stated already, there are some persons in this country that simply do not want any development. I don't know when we're going to get it into our head. They do not. And unfortunately, a lot of them have been infiltrated the government. In fact, they were funded by the government. Through, what is it called? National this and the national that. Bottom line of it is they do not want any development in the Cayman Islands. And where I am definitely aligned with the goals of doing things in a sustainable way, making sure we can do what we can to protect the environment, let's be clear on what the agenda is. The agenda is they don't want any development. They have made it abundantly clear that they have come here to retire and they want it to remain as much as possible the way they found it when they came here to retire. I have that in writing. And when I'm thinking about Paradise Bar, I mean, come on, really? How long has that been there? What about that old Atlantis building there? It's like, it's been there since, Jesus Christ was a little boy, what we killed for lop, or whatever other little adage you want to use.
Yeah.
Come on. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Very good question. Let's Google it.
If you're going to try to find how long it's been there?
Yeah, when was Paradise Bar and Grill first built?
Yeah. I'll probably say something like, we're way back in 1847. No, I don't know, man. Come on. I mean, everything you hear that's going to be built is something, there's a complaint. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I know what to say. I'm tired of saying it. That's the issue.
They don't say.
You don't say? Let me look.
They don't say.
You're not a Googler.
Well, I know I'm not,
You're not a professional Googler.
I'm not a
Just step aside, son. Step aside.
Step aside. Let an expert get in here, for goodness sake.
And here the first time, I won't be able to find anything. Hold on, let me see.
Bar and Grill first built Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. No. This is not, no. Nothing helping. Anyway, 28 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock is the time. Again, just a reminder, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we continue our series discussion of the Candidates Forum, Life After the Campaign Trail. Not looking at the winners, but arguably focusing on the losers and seeing what the experience of politics has taught them, what are some of the challenges they're experiencing, and really what comes next for them, our fellow Caymanians. Tomorrow we will play host to a fan favorite on this program. Mr. Jordan Rivers will be our guest at 5 o'clock. And we want to encourage as many of you as can do so to tune in, because you absolutely will not want to miss that insightful conversation. But that's all the time we have for you for this evening at 29 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Reminding you to tune in to Straight Talk each and every weekday evening, Monday through Friday, from 4:30 to 6:30, right here only on Bobo 103.1 FM. Good night, K-Man.
The home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. This is Bobo 103.1. The following commercial messages are brought to you exclusively by Stingray Media.
The Office Hero. To claim this title, you have to make an exceedingly wise decision. Do something that benefits staff, impresses clients, all while keeping expenses low. Are you ready to be the Office Hero? Here's what to do. Call Hughes Cleaning Service. Hughes Cleaning Service will make your office shine and you a hero. Dusting, vacuuming, windows, sanitizing, and more. Hughes